Why not try something smart to chew on? The Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom, informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI, food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Pleasant good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International for Friday, August the 9th, 2024. And this is program number 1228 of the Lunchroom. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Now, in addition to Radio 101.1 FM, you can also get us at our website. It is rcisaintlucia.com. We are also streaming live on Facebook. Just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And of course, please be sure to like and share that link as well with your friends and family. Of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And you can also reach us via WhatsApp. That number is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. You can reach us via both calling in or messaging in on WhatsApp. Now, a bit of history for today. We go far back to the year 48 BC, where Julius Caesar decisively defeated Pompey the Great at the Battle of Pharsalus, and that forced Pompey to flee to Egypt during Caesar's civil war. In the year 1790, on this day, Robert Gray's Columbia Rediviva returned to Boston after 3 years out at sea, and it was in fact the first American ship to circumnavigate the globe. In the year 1898, on this day, Rudolf Diesel of Germany obtains a patent for his internal combustion engine, later known as the diesel engine. 1942, on this day, saw Mahatma Gandhi and 50 others being arrested in Bombay, now of course known as Mumbai, after the passing of a Quit India motion and campaign by the All India Congress. 1945, on this day, August the 9th, saw the United States dropping its second atomic bomb called Fat Man on the Japanese city of Nagasaki, destroying a significant part of that city. And on this day in 1965, Singapore separated from the Federation of Malaysia and gained its independence. Some birthday greetings for today. First, going out to Mila Thomas. Happy birthday to you, Mila. And we do hope that you're having a fantastic birthday celebration. Hope you're having a wonderful one indeed. Also want to send out birthday greetings to Mr. Trevor Phillip. Happy birthday to you, sir. And we do hope that you're having a splendid birthday celebration. Hope it's a great one. To Mr. Sebastian Collymore, happy birthday to you as well. And we do hope that you're having a wonderful birthday celebration. And also celebrating her birthday today is Miss Suwan Alcindor. Happy birthday. And we do hope it's a fantastic day indeed. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought with the kind compliments of our good friends at Taz Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+, need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasware and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to my nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Jubilee Lane, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Hope everybody's having a very blessed Friday. And of course, as we head into another weekend, let's hope that we can stay safe. Of course, now, we've been seeing quite a bit of praise and support for St. Lucia's double medal winner at the Olympics, Julian Alfred. And of course, it's coming from all different quarters around the country. The Archbishop of Castries, the Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Castries, His Grace Gabriel Malze, has also provided some words of praise for Julian, and I think we got that clip available. So I think we wanted to just share that as we begin our dish of the day.
Produced two Nobel laureates in the persons of Sir Arthur Lewis for economics and Sir Derek Walcott for literature. The achievement of Julian Alfred at the 2024 Olympics brings the icing on the cake for the people of St. Lucia. It is a clear indication of what God can do with any human person who is determined to set his or her feet in a positive direction. This is akin to the words of St. Thomas Aquinas, who affirms that grace builds on nature. It simply means that God will take whatever we present him, our nature, and build on it towards becoming the best that we can be. And Julian Alfred has given us her best, even at such a tender age. She stands as an ambassador for every young person in St. Lucia who dreams of any kind of achievement. It is particularly significant because she comes from a very humble background and has defied every negative vice to which the young of today are prone: drugs, alcohol, licentious living, laziness, lack of ambition, and the like. She teaches every young person today that with determination one can achieve anything. I was privileged to have the opportunity to give a special blessing to Julian's grandmother, who happened to be present at the Holy Mass on Sunday, August 4th, 2024, at the Marian Home for the Elderly, where she works, the very day after Julian's great success. You can't begin to imagine what it meant for this simple woman to receive a blessing from the Archbishop on account of her granddaughter's international accolade. The entire nation of St. Lucia rejoices and gives thanks to Almighty God for bestowing such honor upon us in the person of our star, Julian Alfred. So we say, to God be the glory, great things he has done.
Right, and of course that was St. Lucia's Archbishop, the Roman Catholic Archbishop of Castries, Gabriel Malze, also sharing his thoughts and words of praise and commendation for Julian Alfred, of course, who has made history for St. Lucia, and she did it on Saturday and again on Tuesday. And of course, she's been getting lots of praise and love from all around the Caribbean. And of course, thanks to the coverage being provided through Sportsmax, Caribbean sportscast, they've certainly been giving quite a lot of good coverage in terms of the various athletes out there and what is being done by the Caribbean. And so we're certainly very thankful for that. One of the individuals we've been hearing quite a lot of is a former minister, also former senator from Trinidad and Tobago, who's also now a commentator on Sportsmax, that of Mr. Anil Roberts. And he has been, of course, a full praise to Julian and her successes, and has really been given really good context to what we are, in fact, or have been witnessing and making the point, even though I know there were a lot of people out there who were somewhat even a little disappointed in the moment, perhaps. They were hoping for 2 gold medals, but he really put the context that um, the the silver medal was in fact perhaps an even more impactful, more sweeter moment for us certainly, because it was really an individual who had already gone through putting out so much and still went out there to represent her country despite being tired, despite all the odds. And so let's take a quick listen to Mr. Anil Roberts of Sportsmax as he gave some context to that race, that 200 meters women's final.
Let me tell you, you see what happened? All you put a big screen in across the country, and she saw that. She saw the people. She saw the tension. She heard the mic man talking. She saw the love. And that's why all you get silver. If it wasn't for you, the people of St. Lucia, I no silver because she tired. That 5 days you're here and watch her face. She can't even do the interview. She looking beautiful but tired, exhausted, drained. But knowing that the whole of St. Lucia watching, that last 80 meters JU, she dug deep. She's the sprinter. She's the racehorse. She's supposed to go out, and Gabby Thomas supposed to be fighting coming with the last 50. But it just wasn't there because too much running in such a short space of time. But she didn't give up. She drove for her country, for her people. Give her a round of applause.
Oba, I want to bring you back in.
And of course, that coming out, that some of those statements from Anil Roberts, and he certainly gave really great context. In fact, people have been saying that he needs to be part of the celebration party that welcomes home Julian whenever she comes by, of course, back home to St. Lucia. And no doubt there's still lots of anticipation and expectation in that regard. So let's hope for that. Of course, we are continuing to look at the Olympics. It's on for another 2 days or so, ending on this weekend. The final push for it is on, and of course, there is this major race to see who will come out on top. And interestingly enough, right now, although they don't have the highest number of total medals, they actually have more golds than in fact the most golds right now in the tournament is actually that of China, and they've been able to edge out the United States as of the moment. And I think they've got about 32 gold medals compared to the United States 30 medals thus far. The US still has a higher medal count with about 104 total medals, and certainly a lot more silver medals compared to China. But and in fact, China has about 77 medals compared to the US's 104. So there's a pretty big gap in terms of total medal count. But because gold medals are ranked so very much higher, that is in fact why on the top rank right now, you would in fact be seeing China, followed by the United States, and then Australia coming in with 18 gold medals, then followed by France and Great Britain, who in fact each have 14 gold medals. So it's important to put that into context, of course, to give sense to what you're dealing with. 54 countries around the world have actually been able to gain a gold medal thus far. And one of those countries that was able to do so yesterday was a major upset in the men's 200 meters. And of course, that name, Letsile Tebogo, is now well known by millions, if not billions, of people around the world, bringing home for the first time a gold medal to Botswana. And in fact, I should say it's not only just the first gold medal for Botswana, it is in fact the first medal ever for Botswana, and of course, that being a country in southern Africa, just north of South Africa, and one of the relatively small, um, well, in terms of population, relatively small African countries with a population of less than 2 million, I do believe. And in fact, they have now been able to certainly place themselves on the map in a pretty big way. Sorry, about 2.4 million people, the population of Botswana. Very much known for being one of the best, best run economies and states in Africa. Very stable, a pretty high GDP per capita of about 7,800 US dollars per person. And in fact, their GDP on a PPP basis, purchasing power parity basis, is pretty high at about 20,000 US dollars. And they've certainly been able to do so with some pretty stable government over the years. It is not a very largely diverse country in terms of its ethnic spread. The Tswana people, they in fact make up about 70% of the population, so pretty homogenous in that regard. And they have in fact been able to do pretty well, even though they are in fact a landlocked country. There is no direct access to the sea, which of course has implications in terms of trade and the ability to bring in goods and resources. But in fact, they have been able to make a pretty good economy for themselves, in particular through that of diamonds. Diamond mining is a major industry in Botswana, and of course, as well, a pretty large growing tourism sector because of their very, very diverse hinterland and savanna, lots of beautiful areas like the Okavango and the Kalahari Desert, and lots of wildlife. So they certainly have also been carving out a pretty good economy for themselves. And so now they too are one of the first time winners in this year's Olympics, actually winning for the first time a medal in this tournament. So really, really, really impressive run yesterday. Of course, a major upset for Mr. Noah Lyles, who apparently I think somehow managed to have gotten COVID in the moment of, of his defeat. And but of course, as was said by by Tibogo, that Mr. Lyles can continue to be the face of racing and the 200 meters because he's the more arrogant individual, interestingly enough. So very, very great moments there with certain countries coming out and being able to actually win big. And of course, that has thrust Botswana into the 54th rank alongside countries like Dominica, because they also won one gold medal. Pakistan also got one gold medal. Bahrain and Algeria with just that one gold medal. St. Lucia currently stands at number 46 alongside Chile, Slovenia, and Uganda with a gold and silver medal each. Today, we were actually celebrating or marking Singapore and the independence of Singapore from the Malaysian Federation, which happened back in 1965. That was seen as a pretty bold move at the time, that this small island, very flat island, was effectively separating itself from the larger hinterland of Malaysia. And of course, it has always been raised up as a real success story, one of the Asian tigers, country that has been able to soar tremendously well from an economic perspective and from a human development perspective. Without a doubt, Singapore is one of those apex countries in terms of how it has been able to develop itself over the past 70, well, it's about 60 years or so. And so that is certainly a major moment as they celebrate, in fact, their 60th anniversary of independence over in Singapore. They came home with just one medal thus far in the tournament, a bronze medal. In pretty much right now in 80th rank, the last place in terms of the countries that have medaled thus far. But to go on to the importance of their successes, we will in fact take on a pretty interesting video. I think we'll do that actually not for our dish of the day, but for when we come back to the program to look at that Singapore success story, because quite often it has been identified as one of these countries which small states like ours should be looking to be able to fashion development trajectories. Island state like ours, of course, with some differences, and one major similarity, almost this exact same size as St. Lucia. Although, since for a number of years now, it's actually expanded its land mass by significant land reclamations. But there was that time when it was about 238 square miles. Today, it's actually 283, 84 square miles. And those additional 45 or so more square miles has actually come from significant land reclamation for construction of airports and ports and other areas for industry. And they've been able to, of course, afford that from pretty good foreign direct investment inflows and a very, very well-planned economy. So we're going to be speaking about that, I think, for our program later on after the weather news. But that's our dish of the day, and we'll now take in our weather report.
This has been the Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. Need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasware and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to my nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses, Grocery Lanes, and Flag Street in Viewfort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Wakey, wakey, St. Lucia. Are you dreaming of a home that's more ooh la la than blah blah blah? Yeah. Well, listen up. Island Style Turn Back is having a massive clearance sale. We're taking huge discounts of up to 60% off on porcelain and ceramic tiles. Purchase all a low stock model and pay only half price plus chipped edges, starting at a whopping $1. But that's not all. Save big with special discounts on stunning vanity, LED mirrors, eye-catching mosaics, and even luxurious bathtubs. Remember, this is for a limited time only, so don't hit the snooze button on this incredible sale. Hurry down to our showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewfort, or call 450-452 or 453-TILE. That's 8453. Remember, if you snooze, you lose.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's of course the 1.1. It's now time for your weather report as of Dublin today, presented by Island Style Talent Bell. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. The winds will be blowing from between the east, northeast, and east near 15 miles per hour or 24 kilometers per hour, becoming lighter at times. The weather partly cloudy to cloudy skies with some scattered showers and a chance of isolated thunderstorms. The forecast for Los Angeles is partly cloudy to cloudy skies with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. And the tropical weather outlook. A tropical wave is expected to cause some cloudiness, scattered showers, and isolated thunderstorms over our region during the forecast period. Another tropical wave located over the central tropical Atlantic is moving westward near 15 miles per hour or 24 kilometers per hour. This system has a medium chance of development during the next 7 days as it approaches the Los Antilles. And this was your weather report as of Tomlin today, presented by Island Style Talent Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Wakey, wakey, St. Lucia. Are you dreaming of a home that's more ooh la la than blah blah blah? Yeah! Well, listen up. Island Style Talent Bath is having a massive clearance sale. We're taking huge discounts of up to 60% off on porcelain and ceramic tiles. Purchase all a low stock model and pay only half price plus chipped edges, starting at a whopping $1. But that's not all. Save big with special discounts on stunning vanity, LED mirrors, eye-catching mosaics, and even luxurious bathtubs. Remember, this is for a limited time only, so don't hit the snooze button on this incredible sale. Hurry down to our showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewport, or call 450-452 or 453-TILE. That's 8453. Remember, if you snooze, you lose.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Now, of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And you can also message in via WhatsApp or call into our WhatsApp number 724-0008. One country that, of course, from the Caribbean that has tended to do pretty well, certainly they have not had as well a run that they did last Olympics and compared to right now, is that of Jamaica. In fact, thus far, they have been able to pick up 6 medals in total, which would be broken down as 1 gold, 3 silver, and 2 bronze medals. And I think if you compare that to last Olympics back in 2020, of course, I think they did far better in that competition. We try to get the exact figure. I think it was about 18 that they actually got in the last Olympics, which had dished out in total somewhere about 2,400 medals in total. So they've had a pretty more difficult time in this current Olympic standing. In fact, I think I'm a little bit misplaced there. Not so high last Olympics. They actually got 9 medals last Olympics, but 4 gold, which is significant as well, and 1 silver and 4 bronze medals. So they were certainly ranking much higher in that Olympics compared to this one. They were about 21st in the world rankings. Now it's at Jamaica's at 35 in the world rankings. Now, of course, people fly in a number of different flags, and we do know that quite often individuals have been speaking about the issue of the Caribbean and the matter of the unity of the Caribbean. And one of the issues, so to speak, has been that of the status of the French departments. And as opposed even to say even like the Netherlands Antilles, they in fact have their own flag. They identify separate and apart. Aruba has gone on its own. They in fact identify separately. But the case of the French islands, of course, they in fact are considered part of France. and don't participate separate and apart in the competition. I believe we've got a call coming in. I'm not sure if we'll be able to take it on our WhatsApp. We're going to see if we can actually get that in. But of course, there are a number of athletes who are, in fact, coming from the French Antilles. We seem to have a bit of issue with actually making that connection. Let's see if we can actually get it. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today? Okay, it doesn't seem as if we can actually make that connection. So our apologies there. But yes, as I was saying, there have been a number of athletes, in fact, coming from Guadeloupe and Martinique within within the Windward Islands, you could say. And okay, it looks like we can make that connection now. Let's try to see if we can get it on. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Is this Social Security and St. Lucia?
No, this isn't Social Security, St. Lucia. This is the lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International.
That's strange. I called 758-724-0008. Is that your number?
That's correct. And this is Radio Caribbean International. You're actually live on air right now on the lunchroom program.
So sorry, I've had my lunch already. Bye.
All right, take care. Have a good one. But yes, as we were saying, in terms of these islands, Guadeloupe and Martinique, they've in fact have got some medals, if in fact they were recognized on their own. And the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, of which Martinique and Guadeloupe are considered associate members, have actually sent out some congratulations and given some recognition to those athletes who are in fact from the French Antilles. In judo, for instance, congratulations extended to Teddy Riné for his individual gold medal and gold medal in the mixed team event, making him the most decorated judoka in history. Bravo as well to Sarah Leonie Sizik, and she has an individual bronze medal as well as gold medal in the mixed team events, and that is in fact in judo, which of course is a form of wrestling. In fencing, applause is being given to Enzo Lefort for his bronze medal in foil, as well as Yannick Borel for his silver medal in the épée, and Marie-Florence Kadasamy and Coraline Vitalis for their silver medals in the women's épée team event. And also in rugby, a gold medal. We set now, and as they're pointing out, celebrating Jefferson Lee Joseph, who's the son of Jeff Joseph, the founder of Gramax Band. It's actually a band out of Dominica, for his gold medal there in rugby, rugby sevens. So certainly there is lots of participation by many others in the Caribbean who have contributed in different forms, but under the French flag. So whereas we are in fact looking at those medals, France being number 4 in the list right now, 14 gold medals, 19 silver and 22 bronze. Some of those perhaps can, in some form or fashion, also be claimed by the Caribbean by virtue of these individuals actually coming from these islands. So certainly, we want to thank them and of course thank the OECS for making that recognition known for their contribution to the continuation of our sporting success here in the Caribbean. Of course, we did mention individuals like Imani Lansico, who were in fact participating on using under the Great Britain flag, the Union Jack. So certainly all good for her as well. Now, as I mentioned, Singapore, and that is a state that we have quite often looked at in terms of development models and what could be perhaps be followed around the world as a success story. And there's an interesting clip that we've got available, which we could perhaps take a listen to, that gives some sense of the economic history and development of that island state, which finds itself in the Malaccan Straits in Asia. So let's hope we can take a listen to this at this time.
This tiny island nation is smaller than New York City, but it's the wealthiest country in Asia and one of the richest in the world.
Its GDP per capita itself has surpassed the likes of the UK, the US, France, and other developed countries.
Over 6 decades, Singapore has transformed itself from a colonial trading port to a buzzing financial center that's envied the world over. And it's held up as an example for any country seeking to grow a robust, high-tech economy. Its wealth is the product of decades of planning by a party that's been in power since independence. So, what's Singapore's formula for success? And as its leadership changes for the first time in 20 years, can it continue to prosper? When Singapore became independent in 1965, the first Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew and other founding leaders recognized it had an economic problem. It had no natural resources. So, if they wanted to develop an export-led economy and attract foreign capital, they would need to build up the country's manufacturing industry. Its location gave it an edge.
It has access to the Straits of Malacca, to the Indian Ocean, to the South China Sea, which makes it a pivotal shipping hub.
So it did this initially by transforming Singapore into a manufacturing base, with a focus on labor-intensive industry at first to wipe out the high unemployment.
But Lee only ever intended manufacturing as a stepping stone to a more developed economy.
He laid the fundamentals, which is a solid financial and legal system, stable and largely clean government, making sure that the public transport system is efficient, has world-class healthcare infrastructure.
In the 1980s, Lee started laying the groundwork for what is now Singapore's biggest source of wealth, finance. Following the lead of places like the US and UK, he liberalized the financial services industry with lighter touch regulation. The legacy of that approach is evident today. 4,200 multinational companies have regional headquarters here. Low taxes are a big reason for that. Singapore's corporate tax rate is just 17% and can hit 13.5% or lower for some activities. That's also because Lee's successor, Goh Chok Tong, continued to lean into attracting big business.
Singapore shifted emphasis to a knowledge-based economy that relies more on creativity and growing Singapore's entrepreneurs.
In 2004, Lee Hsien Loong, Lee Kuan Yew's eldest son, took over the premiership. And he realized to retain the flow of businesses and wealth, it needed to be an even more attractive place to live in. With its prime location, Singapore had to become a destination in itself. That's been key to Singapore's success. It had embarked on an ambitious land reclamation project in the 1970s. Over the years, that space was filled with not just offices and apartment buildings, but entertainment hubs, changing the city skyline in the process.
One example was bringing in the F1 night race.
The government also welcomed casinos, or integrated resorts as they're called in Singapore.
And the timing was impeccable because the Chinese and Indian economies were booming. Singapore was ideally situated to attract the region's ultra-wealthy, who could then enjoy the casinos and nightlife, but also park their money. The results? The total value of assets under management in Singapore jumped from $420 billion at the start of Lee Hsien Loong's tenure to $3.6 trillion in 2022. While Singapore has been an economic success, its leadership is criticized by some for the restrictions on civil liberties and the media.
freedom of the press, freedom of the news media must be subordinated to the overriding needs of the integrity of Singapore.
Under Lee Kuan Yew's governance, one of the chief criticisms is that there was this climate of fear in Singapore. People were afraid to criticize the government.
Subsequent governments also face criticism for maintaining a tight grip. Protests are still largely illegal.
The government is definitely cognizant that its population is changing. It is much more diverse, it is much more vocal.
At the same time, Singapore needs to stay competitive as other countries learn from its model of growth, and climate change is becoming a threat to national security. This is the Singapore that Lawrence Wong is inheriting as the country's new prime minister. Wong, who grew up in public housing, earned praise for his leadership in the country's COVID-19 response. He's seen as having more of a common man's touch.
We should build on what we have today. We should affirm and reinforce what works well for Singapore.
While the People's Action Party still forms the ruling government, its popularity is declining.
There will be that politicking that will happen, much more intensely in the years to come than there was ever before.
The buildup of wealth has brought problems of its own. Housing prices have increased, the cost of living has gone up.
Part of Singapore's growth model has been to attract foreign labor. But too much foreign worker inflow raises concerns by the citizens that the foreigners are taking too many of the good jobs.
If you just look at the numbers, inequality has been reduced, but that's not how some residents feel. The country's rapidly aging population is also going to add pressure to workforce growth and government spending. So, whether it's managing discontent or guiding Singapore's continued evolution into a tech hub, Wong's job is to sustain the city-state's hard-earned success.
Right, and that piece on Singapore and its journey to find itself where it is at right now, clearly being one of the world's richest countries, even though it is one of the smallest, certainly in terms of area, not too much larger than St. Lucia, albeit pretty flat country, not mountainous like St. Lucia at all. And lots of that land being available for development. It's of course, it puts itself in a very interesting situation because it doesn't have very much arable land either. And of course, they have placed emphasis on economic sectors that don't necessarily require large amounts of land or large amounts of resources at all. They started off really with a focus on transshipment, on ports, on logistics, and the locations that they were in. But of course, they shifted towards tertiary level industries like financial services. I believe we're going to take a call at this time as we head to the phone lines to get someone on air. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, caller. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. First of all, I think Julian Alston, I think in the night after, she said she have 2 more races to run.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Julian Alfred, she says she has 2 more races to run. So if anything, she might, in September, she may be coming down to St. Lucia.
Oh, you mean in terms? Yes, that's my understanding that she's probably going to be coming home somewhere around September, which is fine.
Yes,
I think it therefore means
she has to rest, all of those things.
And certainly, I mean, it also means that there's an opportunity to plan perhaps a pretty grand affair.
Yeah.
So that I think is not a problem, of course. I suppose for the individuals who've been looking for that extra holiday, because there's been so many people who just seem to want a holiday, they'll have to just wait for September, which is not a problem, I don't think.
So you're going to get after they get the school children?
Yeah, exactly. And school will be open at that point, so it would be an opportunity to perhaps allow them to participate in that kind of activity
And
at
then I need
schools.
to mention just one another thing. She was given a vehicle yesterday, an antique. I'm not able to see, but my sister and then my other
Yes.
just telling me thinking about it. And there's something about some people are commenting on why is that old, the kind of comments, some of solutions meet, some indiscreet solutions. If you ask them put $20 to contribute to our to sports or any other thing for our children, they won't do it. But then you are going to be out there putting statements and saying all kinds of things or the vehicle she was given. And I think some of people really need to, even though Facebook is done all of these things, these people, sometimes they just abuse it with their own sick mind, dirty minds and just say anything. And they should be very careful, watch what they say. And some people just, because they have that in front of them, they really use it and say anything.
And I think it's just simply a lack of appreciation
Yeah.
of antiques, as if that's a
Yeah.
bad thing. People spend quite a lot of money on things that are pretty old out there, right? Let's
Very
face it.
much.
I mean, if we understand what these things represent and the value that they actually have for a lot of people, we would not be thinking that anything that is quote unquote old is not valuable. I mean, some of the what are people going to see half the time but old things, so quote unquote, right? So
Yeah.
especially when it comes to art, when it comes to, I mean, they're antique vehicles that are worth
But
hundreds
they
of
have
thousands
the
of
thing that
dollars,
they have
and
no awareness of
no,
those
and I think
things.
it's a matter of appreciation.
Yeah.
So for us, we think that for it to be valuable, it has to be brand new. It has to be somehow something that is right now,
Yeah.
trending, so to speak. But
Yes,
but
yes.
in many parts of the world, in most parts of the world, I would say that those things have value. And of course, this was also not something. From my understanding, this was something that was organized by Puma,
Yeah.
who, of course, she has a contractual
A brand.
brand
She's
with.
the brand
She's
ambassador, I would
she's a
say.
brand ambassador for
Yeah.
Puma, and they, of course, did this event where she was actually, I suppose, trying, if in effect, going through Paris. That's my understanding of it. Going through Paris and being part of the city, and part
Yes.
of the experience of people to greet her and to be able to, so.
As you know, in Paris, they have those kind of antiques.
Oh, and certainly there'll be lots of them, and
They believe in those things. Now, I need to mention.
well, yes, all of Paris, you could even argue when you think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
most of Paris was built in the 1800s,
Century, and
1840s,
they
1850s,
really believe in
and
that.
and they've kept that, and that's what people will love to go to Paris to see and to enjoy, and the cobblestones and the Haussmann buildings and the Eiffel Tower, where lots of people want to go to see.
There to get
It
pictures.
was built for the World
Look at the
Exposition
river.
back in 1900 or thereabouts.
Because they were so different. Because they said the river, the boats were coming in with the athletes as they came in. All of
Right.
those things. They take great pride in all of those things.
Right, yeah. Hopefully maybe one day with the Castries River, right? But
I need to mention one thing. Biden was asked to step down because I think he's turning 82 in November. But I'm looking at the Bangladesh president who had to flee in the wee hours of the morning. She was replaced by a president who is 84.
Yes. Yeah. That's an interesting situation. I mean, she was part of Sheikh Hasina. I think her father was also the ruler of Bangladesh, and so she comes from this dynastic ruling family, so to speak.
Yes.
And of course, things have not gone too smoothly
Good at
there.
all.
And what you see too is that, I mean, that country has become a lot more wealthy over the years. I mean, they're doing a lot better.
Well, there's a
than
lot of
before.
poverty there too.
Still a lot of poverty, and of course that is driving these sort of uprisings, and of course she has had
But the
to.
reason I had for the 84-year-old is because he is a Nobel Prize winner.
Yes.
And they feel that he might be able to bring stability and all of these things. So that's the reason for Putin. But at 84.
Well, I think in situations like that, people will tend to look for individuals who are respected,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this idea that therefore they can, in fact, people can kind of unite behind them,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's perhaps more of a holding
Yeah.
position, a sort of a transitional leader
Yeah.
for that period of time.
Yeah.
And so I
And
think in those instances, it has to be about the trust,
yes, yes.
and so he's pretty well respected in Bangladesh. So let's hope that he can
I said
see
you're
that
talking about
transition.
Singapore, but there's an African state in West Africa. You need to try to stay to it. Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso.
Yes, Burkina Faso. And it's like right now they have a young president. They're very young. I guess my niece lives there. But
Oh, your
it's
niece
like
lives in Burkina
the
Faso. Wow. Okay.
yes, but the development there, it is
It's
it
pretty
is not good at
not
all,
yeah
and they
yeah
have so much wealth, so much, but it's like the people, their minds have not been developed at all. They just, I don't know,
yeah
maybe you
it
can do
it
your because my niece lives there and she was still,
yes, well, it's one of those countries that in
yeah,
Africa that still has a tremendous human development gap
mhm,
in terms of education. Basic literacy is very
yeah,
low there. I think it's one of the
very,
lowest in Africa, along with maybe Niger, I believe, as
yeah,
well. Also in that Sahel region of Africa. And so, yeah, it certainly has had its significant
and it's not
challenges
that
with.
some of the people are not intelligent, but they are not ready to open their minds into realizing that they are in control of their own and they should take, it's a lot of thing. But if you maybe go to the history of it,
Hmm.
yes, but I'm not going to keep you.
Yeah, no, well, it's also
Yeah,
it has challenges with religion as well to some degree. I mean, it's majority Islam, and then there's a minority, maybe about a quarter of the people are Christian.
yeah. They
It,
have a
it at
high
one point it
Catholic.
used to be called the Upper Volta. It
Yes,
used to be, because it's immediately north of Ghana, right?
yeah.
And
And
so.
the thing is that they have completely taken over the country from France, but yet the people still look as allow themselves to be as if they're still enslaved.
Yeah, well, that's part of the challenge too. Yeah, this long history of slavery
Hmm.
has been a major problem, and of course the issues of governance.
Yeah,
I mean, they've
yeah.
experienced a number of coups
Hmm.
over the years, and in fact, even this current government, I think, came in as a result of a coup. But they're trying to push, of course, to sort of decolonize the country, so to speak.
Yes,
And so, of course, those were part of this French West Africa
yes,
colony, and they even after a lot of them received independence back in the 1960s. France still had a significant amount of control over their currency, their
see,
banks,
very
their
much.
reserves. And so, whether it's Mali, Burkina Faso,
And this
Niger,
is what is
Chad,
causing the
they,
problem. It's like these people have taken this France and taken advantage of this, so that they have actually enslaved this people to a point that even with freedom, they just don't. They still allow themselves to their minds, everything to remain in that bondage they were.
mhm.
It's like they're just not,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
the other thing about with Burkina Faso, I mean, it is one of those, and Africa has a number of them. These
Yeah.
landlocked countries,
No
so
sea around, no
there's no
water around,
access to sea, and that
nothing like that. Yes.
makes trade more difficult. It therefore means for
Yes.
you to get your exports out, you then have to depend on some other country to do so,
Yeah.
which would usually mean that you've got to pay some sort of tariff, or you got to
Yeah.
just getting the access of goods to bring in or bring out. It just makes it very
Yes.
difficult,
Yes.
and it's also part of
Again,
that region,
difficult.
and it's part of that region known as the Sahel. So
Yeah.
it's an arid, semi-arid region. Where the northern part is experiencing this push of the Sahara, which
Yes.
seems to be
Heat.
effectively growing, and so you get desertification issues. in Burkina Faso, just as with Mali as well.
Yes.
So it's definitely a very difficult country in that regard. So yes, they may have resources in terms of mineral resources and that, but
All of those things.
it's not. It certainly has not been a straightforward, direction for them in terms of growth. So it's unfortunately has been one of those African states that has not really been able to do tremendously well over the years.
I think it would do the African, some of those African countries good to maybe collaborate with our political things in the West Caribbean, because I think maybe they would able to give them some guidance. I think they really need to collaborate.
Well, I think that's a very important point that you're making because,
Yes.
like we were mentioning Botswana earlier on, and they won a medal as we mentioned in yesterday,
Yes.
in the men's 200 meters, and they have actually done very well for a country that is landlocked, just
Yeah.
like Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
They've been able, again, they've had stable, good governance, and they've been able to actually develop their mineral resources. Perhaps one may argue, well, to some extent, was their proximity to South Africa a benefiting thing for them? I don't know. They'll argue maybe yes and no. But they have certainly been able to eke out a pretty good economic trajectory thus far. And one of the things I know they actually did, in fact, when I was at University of the West Indies in Trinidad, a number of the medical students who were there came from Botswana because that government had actually made an arrangement with UE to, in fact, send their students there on scholarship. So, which was a very good thing because obviously they knew they needed doctors, and that was really beneficial to them. And so I think the Caribbean certainly should be positioning itself to be able to do perhaps a lot more of that.
Yes.
As well. And so yes,
even
as
our
you said,
leaders in the Caribbean, they're very strong-minded. They don't push back. They don't allow themselves to be pushed to do anything. So I think maybe if we work, because if you have to look at some of the Caribbean countries, how they have developed, and some of those countries in Africa where people are still they just have not been able to develop the country as it should, whereby they have so much more than the people in the Caribbean. So I think maybe they need to work together to see how they can at least give them guidance on how the Caribbean has developed so much more compared to some of those African states.
Well, again, it's hard to compare Dokole because we're dealing with much smaller countries in the Caribbean.
Yeah,
the populations are easier, so to speak. They've been more able to move around too. They've been our position in the world has helped us to some degree as well. So it's difficult to make those comparisons. And the other thing about it too is that we went through this phase. Emancipation was 1838. Africa was literally still being colonized by the 1900s. The British were fighting wars in Ghana, right? The Ashanti Wars. This is in the 20th century. These wars were being fought. The Boer Wars were in the 20th century, right? France was still fighting in Algeria, in the 50s. So Ethiopia is another good example of that. Italy was still trying to invade Ethiopia in the 1930s. So there was active.
So there's constant fighting.
But this is something that is happening, in living memory for a lot of people that you
would these that have broken the spirit?
Well, I mean, a lot of division. There was a lot of deliberate creating of divisions between groups and ethnicities and pillaging, putting one side against the other. What has not helped as well, even in terms of some of the creating of these states, some of these nation states are not really in any way they don't really recognize the ethnic makeup. So, you have a lot of multi-ethnic regions, lots of different people who Nigeria is a good example of that. You've got Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, Fulani, and so it's a very diverse
Yeah.
group, country. So it leads, and of course in Africa too, you got the major religious divides as well,
Yes.
between north
And
and
I had
south.
a number of tribes there because you're saying the number of tribes that are there. Everybody a different name, they speak a different language, and
Right. Yep.
yeah.
So it really requires a lot. But caller, we're gonna have to end it here though,
Okay, okay.
because we're already over time.
All right,
Thanks
bye.
for that
Yeah.
journey to Africa. Very much appreciated.
Okay.
And of course, we'll be back next week for another program of the Lunchroom. Hope you can join us for that. God willing, I'm your host, Calix George Jr., saying goodbye.